Good morning, everyone. Let's take our seat. We will start our morning plenary. السلام عليكم. صباح الخير السادة أعضاء الوفود الموقرون. سوف نبدأ أعمال الجلسة الصباحية، وسوف نستمر في جدول الأعمال في البند الخامس من جدول أعمالنا، والمعني بالكلمات الخاصة برؤساء الوفود، وسنستمر استكمالا للكلمات الماضية في يوم أمس. وسوف يكون المتحدث الأول، أول 3 متحدثون هم على القائمة بالترتيب: إندونيسيا والسنغال وبيرو. قبل أن أعطي الكلمة لممثل إندونيسيا، أريد التأكيد على أن نحافظ على وقت الكلمات، وهي الوقت المخصص لهذه الكلمة ب5 دقائق لكل متحدث، وأن يكون المتحدث الذي يلي المتحدث الأول في مكان الانتظار تسهيلا لهذا الوقت. والآن دعوني أعطي الكلمة لممثل إندونيسيا السيدة يوليا، مديرة Director of the Climate Change and Mitigation Ministry of Environment and Forestry, for her first statement. Your Excellency, please.
Good morning, Mr. President of the 13th meeting of COP to the Vienna Conventions, Excellencies, Executive Secretary of the UN Environment Ozone Secretariat, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the government and people of the Republic of Indonesia, I would like to convey our gratitude to the government of the Kingdom of Thailand and the Ozone Secretariat for convening this high-level segment, as well as for its strong and unwavering support in protecting the ozone layer and advancing climate action. I would also like to congratulate you, Mr. Yaqub Al-Matuk, as the president of the 13th meeting of COP to the Vienna Convention, and to Madam Karine James for assuming the presidency of this 36th MOP session. We are confident that your esteemed leadership will guide us towards practical and impactful outcomes for all parties. Mr. and Madam President, as a committed party to the Montreal Protocol, Indonesia has achieved a significant milestone by successfully completing the stage 1 and is nearing the end of implementing stage 2 of the HEFC phase-out management plan. In 2023, Indonesia surpassed its HEFC import reduction target, achieving a 60% reduction compared to the initial goal of 55%. We are now approaching the beginning of stage 3 of the HPMP, with a total HEFC phase-out targeted for 2030, and will focus on the RIC servicing sector, which utilizes HEFC 22 and HEFC 123, which is used in firefighting and chillers. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, World Ozone Day 2024 presents a timely opportunity to reflect on the significant progress achieved through Montreal Protocol, and in the process has also contributed to climate change mitigation by phasing down HEFC under the provision of the Kigali Amendment. In line with the theme Advancing Climate Action, Indonesia is raising public awareness about practical steps to minimize impact on the ozone layer and mitigate climate change. This includes supporting environmentally friendly technology by opting for refrigerant units with CFC and CFC-free and energy-saving star labels, and by ensuring regular servicing of refrigeration units by certified technician, and by adopting the 16 to 24 actions, which encourages setting air conditioner to 24 degrees Celsius to conserve energy. Excellencies, Madam President, by the end of this year, the Indonesian government will submit its second NDC to the UNFCCC Secretariat, which reaffirms its commitment to the Kigali Amendment to reduce HEFC consumption. I would also like to emphasize that our government successfully implemented the licensing system for HEFC in early 2024. Our dedication is reflected in our strengthened interministerial coordination to monitor HEFC consumption, which includes a quarterly review of 2024 import data. The government of Indonesia is optimistic about achieving the target of freezing HEFC consumption by the end of this year. Continue by starting with a 10% reduction in 2029 and gradually increase our efforts to reach an 80% reduction by 2045. As the world shifts to low GWP technologies, more capacity building is needed, particularly for Article 5 parties. Having learned from the past CFC phase-out and ongoing SCFC phase-out, the most challenging part is to ensure the sustainability of new technologies as well as its affordability, safety, and security. On that account, we appreciate the Multilateral Fund for opening more funding windows to assist Article 5 parties, such as the LRM. The growth of LRM companies focused on reclaiming and or destroying ODAs or HFC presents a valuable opportunity. It allows parties to surpass phase-out targets and manage unwanted refrigerants at their end life cycle. However, this must be approached carefully to avoid unnecessarily destroying refrigerants with remaining potential, especially as global refrigerant production declines. The possibility of earning carbon credit from ODS or HFC destruction further complicates the decision, even though Indonesia has stipulated series of carbon pricing instruments such as the Presidential Decree 98 in 2021. Therefore, prioritizing refrigerant reclamation whenever feasible and also reserving destruction for unavoidable cases should be paramount. Madam President, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, to conclude, I would like to express our commitment and support for the Montreal Protocol on substances that deplete the ozone layer. And I firmly believe that with full commitment from all parties, we can accomplish the protocol's long-term goals of a safe and sustainable environment for both present and future generations. I thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Madam. It is now the turn of Senegal, Mr. Baba Dreme, Director for Environmental Regulation and Control and National Ozone Focal Point. The next speaker would be Peru, followed by Turkey. Mr. Drame, you have the floor.
Merci beaucoup, Madame la Présidente, Madame la Secrétaire exécutive, Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs les chefs de délégation, distingués participants en vos rangs, titres et grades. Au nom du gouvernement de la République du Sénégal, je voudrais remercier le Royaume et le peuple de Thaïlande pour l'accueil chaleureux et toutes les facilités apportées à la délégation sénégalaise pour sa participation à cette 13e conférence des parties à la Convention de Vienne sur les substances appauvrissant la couche d'ozone et la 36e réunion des parties au protocole de Montréal. Je tiens aussi à remercier le secrétariat de l'ozone pour les efforts consentis pour assurer une bonne organisation de notre rencontre. Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs, avec les conséquences désastreuses du réchauffement climatique ressenties partout à travers le monde, l'humanité est à la croisée des chemins. Dans ce contexte, l'action multilatérale dédiée à la lutte contre la détérioration de la couche d'ozone doit impérativement refléter la gravité de la situation. C'est pourquoi, après avoir mis la communauté internationale sur la voie d'un développement respectueux de la couche d'ozone à travers la Convention de Vienne et le protocole de Montréal, nous avons aujourd'hui la responsabilité d'articuler ce défi avec celui de la réduction des émissions de gaz à effet de serre, à l'origine du réchauffement climatique, comme nous y invite du reste l'amendement de Kigali. Ces deux défis existentiels interpellent tous les pays, tous les continents et requièrent une solidarité internationale agissante pour que chaque pays, quel que soit son niveau de développement, puisse s'acquitter convenablement de ses engagements. Je voudrais à ce propos me réjouir de la collaboration efficace entre la République du Sénégal et le secrétariat de l'ozone, le secrétariat du Fonds multilatéral et les agences d'exécution multilatérales et bilatérales avec qui nous collaborons dans la mise en œuvre de notre programme national sur l'ozone. Il me plaît de rappeler, pour m'en réjouir, qu'à la différence de beaucoup d'accords multilatéraux sur l'environnement, la mise en œuvre du protocole de Montréal et de ses différents amendements a permis de montrer qu'il est possible, malgré la diversité des positions et des intérêts nationaux, d'aboutir à des résultats concrets qui tiennent compte des spécificités de chaque pays. Le Sénégal estime que la présente session conjointe de la conférence et de la réunion des parties doit poser les jalons d'une action renforcée pour relever le double défi écologique qui nous interpelle, à savoir la protection de la couche d'ozone et l'atténuation du changement climatique. Comme vous le savez, les pays de l'article 5, y compris le Sénégal, sont engagés dans la mise en œuvre du calendrier d'élimination des HCFC d'ici 2030, à travers la mise en œuvre des plans de gestion et d'élimination des HCFC et la réduction de la consommation des HFC d'ici 2050 à travers les plans de mise en œuvre de l'amendement de Kigali. La réalisation combinée de ces plans, combinée à l'action des autres pays parties, permettra de contribuer au niveau global à atténuer la température mondiale à hauteur de 0,1 degré Celsius d'ici 2050 et 0,5 degré Celsius d'ici 2100. Toutefois, la réussite de ces plans visant la mise en place d'un refroidissement durable passera par l'introduction d'alternatives viables, performantes qui prennent en compte les températures ambiantes élevées, la disponibilité sur le marché des nouveaux équipements, de nouvelles technologies propres pour la couche d'ozone et le climat constitue également un enjeu important que nous devons adresser. L'utilisation de ces nouvelles technologies nécessite l'acquisition de connaissances par le renforcement des capacités de nos ingénieurs et techniciens pour maîtriser les risques et dangers liés à la manipulation de ces fluides naturels durant la maintenance et la réparation des installations et équipements de froid. Pour toutes ces raisons, le Sénégal attend des décisions fortes pour promouvoir la synergie entre les ministères chargés de l'environnement qui coordonnent la mise en œuvre des plans de mise en œuvre de l'amendement de Kigali, renforcent davantage leur collaboration donc avec les ministères chargés de l'énergie pour promouvoir l'efficacité énergétique dans le secteur du froid et de la réfrigération. Il en est de même pour le financement combiné des programmes sur l'ozone et le climat pour arriver à des actions coordonnées pouvant générer des impacts significatifs. C'est tout le sens de l'intégration des activités prévues au titre de l'amendement de Kigali dans la contribution déterminée au niveau national de la République du Sénégal. Je salue les efforts entrepris par le secrétariat de l'ozone pour promouvoir une action concertée entre ces deux départements ministériels dans les pays africains francophones, comme en atteste du reste l'atelier de jumelage organisé récemment à Tunis par le secrétariat de l'ozone. Pour clore mon propos, je voudrais, Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs, réitérer l'engagement de la République du Sénégal à ne ménager aucun effort pour soutenir la coopération internationale, pour promouvoir une action renforcée en faveur de la protection de la couche d'ozone et du climat pour les générations actuelles et futures. Je vous remercie de votre aimable attention.
Thank you, sir. It is now the turn of Peru. Councillor Alvaro Salcido Tulu, Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The next speaker would be Turkey, followed by Tunisia.
Muchísimas gracias, señora presidenta. Excelencias, distinguidos colegas, es para mí grato dirigirme a ustedes a fin de transmitir un cordial saludo del Gobierno del Perú, expresar nuestro agradecimiento al Reino de Tailandia por su hospitalidad al acoger esta reunión, a la Secretaría del Ozono por su incansable trabajo en la implementación del Protocolo de Montreal, a los presidentes de los diferentes grupos de contacto e informales por el gran esfuerzo realizado, así como alcanzar el saludo a la mesa por la gran función que viene realizando. Mediante la entrada en vigor del Convenio de Viena en 1988 y del Protocolo de Montreal en 1989, comenzó una historia de éxito y compromiso conseguido por sus Estados parte, pues es el único acuerdo ambiental multilateral que ha alcanzado la suscripción universal y que ha logrado acabar con la producción y consumo del 98% de las sustancias que agotan la capa de ozono. Este éxito no hubiera sido posible sin la existencia del Fondo Multilateral para la aplicación del protocolo, el cual ha permitido que países en desarrollo, como el Perú, puedan cumplir con sus compromisos asumidos en el marco de estos instrumentos internacionales. Estos acuerdos son un claro ejemplo de que el multilateralismo, con objetivos claros y basados en una sólida cooperación internacional, pueden generar los cambios necesarios que necesitamos lograr. El Perú ratificó el Convenio de Viena en 1989 el Protocolo de Montreal en 1993. Y durante estas décadas, fieles a nuestra tradición de cumplimiento de nuestros compromisos internacionales, hemos eliminado la mayoría de las sustancias químicas que agotan la capa de ozono, reguladas por el Protocolo de Montreal, por lo que, de acuerdo al calendario de eliminación, nos declaramos como país libre de estas sustancias. Asimismo, y en cumplimiento de la enmienda de Kigali, venimos implementando progresivamente el calendario de eliminación de los hidrofluorocarbonos. Por ello, invitamos, al igual que otros estados que ya lo han hecho, a todos a sumarse a este esfuerzo global, dado que todos somos los beneficiarios. Resulta destacable señalar también que el Protocolo de Montreal es uno de los principales instrumentos mundiales que contribuyen a luchar contra el cambio climático, debido a que los principales enemigos del ozono son también potentes gases de efecto invernadero. Esto también ya se ha dicho en esta conferencia, pero me permito reiterarlo. La ciencia es contundente. La ventana de oportunidad para poder tomar medidas más ambiciosas contra el cambio climático es cada vez más estrecha. Y si no actuamos pronto y de forma concreta y conjunta, no habrá futuro viable para la humanidad. La COP29 en Bakú es una oportunidad de transmitir el espíritu del Protocolo de Montreal en los espacios de negociación, considerando que países como el Perú enfrentan una situación de alta vulnerabilidad y desafíos ante los efectos del cambio climático, como eventos meteorológicos extremos, inundaciones, deslizamientos de tierra, sequías, desertificación, incendios, pérdida de territorio y de biodiversidad, que pueden tener impactos en los ecosistemas, la salud, la infraestructura, las actividades productivas y las comunidades locales, no solo en mi país y no solamente en nuestra región, sino los impactos que puedan tener en los ecosistemas de la región de América del Sur van a tener impactos directos en el ecosistema global. Quiero cerrar mi intervención recordando la importancia de la cooperación internacional para el logro de los objetivos internacionales en el marco de los acuerdos ambientales, como el Convenio de Viena y el Protocolo de Montreal. Tanto los resultados del taller sobre gestión del ciclo de vida de los refrigerantes del pasado domingo, así como los distintos intercambios de experiencias de las partes en la COP13, MOP 36, ponen en evidencia que hoy en día la cooperación internacional entre Estados sigue siendo un pilar fundamental para el logro de los objetivos, no solo del Protocolo de Montreal, sino de todos los acuerdos internacionales en materia ambiental. Muchísimas gracias.
Thank you, sir. It is now the turn of Turkey. Mr. Merali Isar, Deputy Director from the Directorate of Climate Change, Ministry of Environment, Urbanization and Climate Change. The next speaker would be Tunisia, followed by Kenya. Sir, you have the floor.
Thank you, Shay. Honorable President, distinguished delegates, I would like to express my gratitude to Government of Thailand and the Ozone Secretariat for hosting 36th meeting of the parties in Bangkok and warm hospitality. For us, it is an honor to be a part of this organization and of these important and fruitful discussions. The Montreal Protocol has proven to be one of the most prominent examples of global cooperation for protecting life on Earth. Turkey has been contributing to joint efforts since its very beginning. As a party to the Vienna Convention and Montreal Protocol, Turkey is taking the necessary actions to comply with the protocol's obligations. Turkey also ratified the Kigali Amendment. Turkey is committed to completing the phase-out of HCFCs by 2025. Only HCFCs 22 is allowed for use in servicing, and there is no domestic production. In accordance with our obligations and commitments, we have established and have been implementing an online licensing system for each import and export for controlled substances. Additionally, since 2024, quota allocations for HFCs have been implemented for importers in line with amounts defined by the Ozone Secretariat. Also, the revised FCAS regulation published in September bans the export non-refillable cylinders contained FCAS to countries where their import is prohibited. As Turkey, we have established facilities to recovery, recycling, and reclamation of HFCs and HFCs to encourage use of reclaimed gases. We aim for these facilities to begin operation in 2025. Distinguished delegates, Turkey continues to intensify its efforts to protect ozone layer and combat climate change in full compliance with the protocol. We believe that we can achieve successful global outcomes if we continue to develop international cooperation and align our efforts. We recognize that we face and will continue to face many challenges. Yet, we believe more than ever in our shared will and strong culture of cooperation. These will enable us to meet the challenges ahead with strengthened cooperation. I thank you.
Thank you, sir. It is now the turn of Tunisia. Mr. Youssef Hamami, coordinator for the National Ozone Unit. The next speaker would be Kenya, followed by Timor-Leste. Please.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السيدة الرئيسة، السيدات والسادة رؤساء الوفود، السيدات والسادة الحضور، يسعدني في بداية هذه الكلمة بأن أتقدم بجزيل الشكر والتقدير للسلطات التايلاندية على كرم الضيافة وحفاوة الاستقبال، ولأمانة الأوزون على حسن تنظيم هذا الاجتماع الهام. السيدة الرئيسة، إن تونس من البلدان التي تولي اهتماما بالغا للمسائل المتعلقة بالجوانب البيئية، وخاصة منها مسألتي استنفاذ طبقة الأوزون والتغيرات المناخية. انخرطت تونس في اتفاقية فيينا لحماية طبقة الأوزون وبروتوكول موريال منذ سنة 89 و900 وألف، وأوفت بتعهداتها الدولية تجاه البروتوكول منذ ذلك التاريخ من خلال تنفيذ مشاريع إزالة المواد المستنفذة لطبقة الأوزون بدعم متواصل من الصندوق متعدد الأطراف للبروتوكول وبعض الدول الصديقة ومختلف وكالات التنفيذ. وقد مكنت هذه المشاريع في مرحلة أولى من البروتوكول من إزالة كلية لمواد الكلوروفلوروكربونية CFC والهالونات والمذيبات وبروميد الميثيل، ما يعادل كمية 7.5 مليون طن مكافأ من ثاني أكسيد الكربون سنوياً. ويجري العمل في مرحلة ثانية من البروتوكول لتنفيذ استراتيجية وطنية لإزالة المواد HCFC عن طريق تنفيذ مشاريع استثمارية في العديد من القطاعات، وأخرى غير استثمارية تشمل بالخصوص تأهيل قطاع التدريب المهني على حسن التصرف في سوائل التبريد الفلورية والمعدات المشتغلة بها. وقد خفضت تونس استهلاكها من هذه المواد بنسبة تناهز 55% إلى غاية سنة 23، ما يعادل كمية 720 ألف طن مكافأ من ثاني أكسيد الكربون، مما يمكنها من احترام تطبيق رزنامة الإزالة التدريجية المحددة في الغرض. وتعمل تونس في الوقت الحالي على إرساء منظومة وطنية لإشهاد التقنيين ومؤسسات الخدمات العاملين في مجالي التبريد والتكييف وتأهيل مراكز التدريب المهني ذات العلاقة. وفي هذا السياق ولتدعيم الجهود الوطنية للحد من واردات سوائل التبريد والتكييف، فإننا بصدد الإعداد مع الأطراف الفاعلة لتركيز وتفعيل مركزين اثنين لاستعادة ورسكلة وإعادة تدوير هذه السوائل، والعمل على ترسيخ سياسة وطنية تتعلق بإدارة دورة حياة السوائل التبريد LRM، وتنفيذ برنامجا وطنيا لدعم وتأهيل قدرات أعوان الديوانة عن طريق التعاون المشترك مع المدرسة الوطنية للديوانة من الناحية الفنية واللوجستية للتصدي للتجارة الغير الشرعية للمواد المراقبة في بروتوكول موريال، وكذلك إعداد الأطر القانونية في الغرض. وبخصوص المواد HFC فإن تونس أخضعت هذه المواد منذ بداية استخدامها على المستوى الوطني في سنة 97 و900 وألف حيز المراقبة، وذلك باعتماد نظام منح رخص التوريد عن طريق إنجاز إطار قانوني في الغرض وإسناد التصنيفات الديوانية لكل مادة منها وتحيينها في سنة 23 و2000، الشيء الذي ساهم في إنشاء بنك معلوماتي دقيق خاص بهذه المواد يمكننا من حصر كافة مجالات استعمالاتها في جميع القطاعات، كما صادقت تونس على تعديل كيغالي سنة 21. وفي هذا السياق شرعت تونس منذ بداية 22 في إعداد خطة وطنية للتخفيض التدريجي من المواد HFC بالتعاون مع منظمة الأمم المتحدة للتنمية الصناعية وبدعم من الصندوق متعدد الأطراف للبروتوكول، بهدف تحديد الخطوط العريضة لمختلف الأنشطة الاستثمارية وغير الاستثمارية. وقد حظيت هذه الخطة بمصادقة اللجنة التنفيذية للصندوق في اجتماعها 94. ورغم الجهود المبذولة في هذا الصدد منذ ما يزيد عن 3 عقود من الزمن، واعتبارا لاستعمالات هذه المواد في عدة قطاعات حيوية، فإن تونس تبدي انشغالها العميق مع المجموعة الدولية فيما يتعلق بالتأثيرات البيئية السلبية لهذه الغازات على المناخ، أخذا بعين الاعتبار بأن تونس مصنفة ضمن البلدان شديدة التأثر بظاهرة تغير المناخ. كما نبدي انشغالنا سيدة الرئيسة كذلك حيال ارتفاع تكلفة التكنولوجيات البديلة المتوفرة في الوقت الحالي، خاصة في قطاع التبريد التي تعتمد سوائل تبريد طبيعية وانعكاساتها السلبية على الاقتصاد الوطني. ورغم كل هذه الانشغالات فإن تونس تسعى إلى معاضدة المجموعة الدولية في جهودها الرامية إلى حماية المناخ من التأثيرات السلبية. سيدة الرئيسة، إن الهدف الأسمى من أعمالنا هو حماية المحيط عبر مسار مستدام، وإن إقحام البعد الاقتصادي هو واجب وحق للمؤسسات الاقتصادية في أعمالنا. وفي نفس الوقت يجب ألا ننسى البعد الثالث للتنمية المستدامة، ألا وهو البعد الاجتماعي، خاصة وأن أعمالنا تساهم بشكل إيجابي في خلق مواطن شغل جديدة وأخذ النوع الاجتماعي في الاعتبار. إن حق الشعوب في بيئة سليمة هو بند من بنود دستورنا في الجمهورية التونسية. وفي الختام نجدد التزامنا بمواصلة مساهمتنا البناءة في المسارات والمجهودات الدولية لرفع التحديات البيئية الإقليمية والكونية، وخاصة تغير المناخ وحماية طبقة الأوزون وغيرها من الملفات. شكرا على حسن الانتباه، والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته.
Thank you, sir. It is now the turn of Kenya. Mr. Marindani Kirui, Coordinator, National Ozone Unit, Ministry of Environment, Climate Change and Forestry. The next speaker would be from Timor-Leste, followed by Ecuador. Sir, you have the floor.
Okay. Madam President, Your Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. Madam President, first and foremost, I would like to congratulate you on your election as the President of the 36th meeting of the parties to the Montreal Protocol on substance that deplete the ozone layer. I wish to express on behalf of the government of Kenya and my delegation appreciation to the Royal Thai government for hosting the combined 13th meeting of the Conference of Parties to the Vienna Convention for the protection of the ozone layer and the 36th meeting of the parties to the Montreal Protocol and its warm hospitality to my delegation. I would also like to congratulate and thank the Ozone Secretariat for successfully organizing this meeting. Madam President, Kenya acceded to the Vienna Convention for the Protection of the Ozone Layer in November 1988 and ratified the Montreal Protocol on substances that deplete the ozone layer in the same month, November 1988, and has ratified 5 Montreal Protocol amendments, namely the London, Copenhagen, Montreal, Beijing, and the Kigali amendments. Thus, Kenya is in compliance with the amendments to the Montreal Protocol and would like to encourage other parties that have not ratified any one of the amendments to do so as appropriate. Madam President, ladies and gentlemen, it is worth highlighting that Kenya has taken proactive steps to implement the controlled substance regulations, which have been reviewed to encompass HFC licensing and quota systems, as well as for HFC plants, to ensure that importers of controlled substances comply with control measures as by the schedules under the Kigali Amendment. Therefore, through close collaboration with the Customs and Border Control Department of the Kenya Revenue Authority and the National Environment Management Authority, the Ministry of Environment, Climate Change, and Forestry is committed to establishing rigorous control mechanisms for the importation of the controlled substances. This will involve the issuance of import licenses and permits to effectively combat illegal importation of such substances. Madam President, Kenya has developed the National Cooling Action Plan. The objective of the action plan is to enhance access to sustainable cooling for all Kenyans as a climate action intervention. You may be aware, cooling is one of the biggest contributors to global warming, and it uses refrigerants that are controlled by the Montreal Protocol. In view of this, there is need to target reducing emissions, improving energy efficiency, and climate-friendly actions to cooling. This would be important to take note of as countries prepare for COP29. Distinguished delegates, Kenya has put in place strategies to face down HFCs. As part of strategies to face down HFCs, the National Ozone Unit of the Ministry of Environment, Climate Change, and Forestry, in collaboration with GIC Proclima, with funding from the government of France and funding from the government of Germany under the Green Cooling Initiative project, has trained over 200 custom officers along with other enforcement officers on control measures in import and export of controlled substances, and over 1,000 refrigeration and air conditioning service technicians in good practices during repair and maintenance of refrigeration equipment. Further, the rack service technicians have been trained on safe use of hydrocarbons and other natural refrigerants like carbon dioxide as substitutes to controlled substances. Madam President, Kenya is currently undertaking the Kigali HFC Implementation Plan, KIP, project preparation. The main purpose of preparing the KIP is the development of overarching strategy to allow the country to meet the reduction target in HFC consumption as agreed by the parties to the Montreal Protocol in the Kigali Amendment. Further, Kenya is developing a national plan for managing refrigeration and air conditioning equipment end of life, including handling of contaminated recovered refrigerants that might have been collected by the industry awaiting disposal. Madam President, the financial assistance from the Multilateral Fund to Article 5 parties has contributed to the success of the Montreal Protocol in that the use of the Multilateral Fund through the implementing and bilateral agencies has assisted in the phase-out down activities approved by the Executive Committee following the control measures under the Montreal schedules. In light of this, therefore, to maintain the success of the Article 5 parties in fulfilling their obligations under the Montreal Protocol, Kenya feels that it is important that the multilateral fund is enhanced to assist the Article 5 parties to deal with the controlled substances in a sustainable manner. Madam President, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, as I conclude, I wish to mention that the workshop on life cycle refrigerant management that was held on 27th October 2024 was important in that one of the aspects, capacity building, is crucial to Kenya, and we hope recommendations made would be fully implemented. To this end, we express our strong commitment and support to the successful implementation of the Montreal Protocol requirements. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. It is now the turn of Timor-Leste, Mr. Alves Gomes Martins, Environmental Coordinator, Ministry of Tourism and Environment. The next speaker will be Ecuador. Sir, you have the floor.
Madam President, honorable ministers, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great honor to be here to represent the government and the people of Timor-Leste at the 30th Conference of Party to the Vienna Convention and 36th meeting of the party to the Montreal Protocol. Allow me to express our sincere gratitude to the government of Thailand for the warm hospitality extended to me and my delegation in this beautiful city of Bangkok. Our sincere gratitude goes also to UNEP Ozone Secretariat for excellent organization of this event meeting, and we recommend the Executive Secretary of the Ozone Secretariat for the leadership and combining this high-level segment. Madam President, we rejoice the community our nation and breathe the air of liberty through our independence 22 years ago. As we embark on the process of nation building, we are aware that Timor-Leste must also bear its share of responsibility to address various global problems. The deterioration of our natural environment and its impact are among such problems. For Timor-Leste, environmentally sound and sustainable, the development is not optional. It is a fitting tribute to our forefathers, ensure that the fruit of independence benefit the future generation for their good life and sustainability of environment. From the outset, Timor-Leste has shown its commitment to the protection of environment. Several international treaties on environmental protection were accessed to almost immediately after independence, including the Montreal Protocol on Substances that deplete the ozone layer and its amendment. Madam President, signed the section to the Vienna Convention in 2009. The government of Timor-Leste has been actively implementing the Montreal Protocol activities, including policies and regulations to control trade and reduce the dependence of controlling substances, training to build the national capacity to custom, enforcement officer and technician, sustaining servicing sector through certification program, raising awareness to stakeholders and general public, and promoting alternatives that are ozone and climatic friendly. Despite challenging due to rapid infrastructure development in the country, which has continuous efforts, Timor-Leste has successfully phased out consumption of ozone depleting substances as per Montreal schedule with support of UNEP Compliant Assistance Program and ACFC Phase Down Management Plan with UNEP Ozone Action and UNDP as implemented agency. In this regard, we truly appreciate the leadership of the Ozone Secretariat, commitment, and collaboration of the party for addressing difficulties and challenges that Article 5 party have been encountering in the implementation of the Montreal Protocol. I wish to express our sincere thankful to the Executive Committee of Multilateral Fund and Secretariat for technical and financial assistance provided to us so far, and also thankful to the UNEP Ozone Action and UNDP, our implementing agency to the Multilateral Fund. Madam President, the Kigali Amendment represents a global effort to phase down consumption of the hydrofluorocarbon, or AFC, which are not ozone depleting, but potent greenhouse gases that have been contributing to the global warming. The Kigali Amendment is seen by us as a significant step in combating climatic change and global warming, while continuing the successful legacy of the Montreal Protocol in protecting the ozone layer. Like other developing nations, Timor-Leste is facing a rising trend of AFC, which have been used as alternative to replace ACFC. As a small island developing state, Timor-Leste is very vulnerable to the impact of climatic change and fully recognize the role of the Kigali Amendment to reduce the rise in global temperatures. Our delegate has a pleasure to inform that Timor-Leste is in the final stage of obtaining approval not only to ratify the Kigali Amendment, but also to amend our existing Drigiri law on control of import and export ozone depleting substances to additionally include control import and export of AFCs and equipment containing controlled substances under the Montreal Protocol through our licensing system. Our country will dependently ratify the Kigali Amendment to join the journey with others to mitigate the climatic change through the phase down. Timor-Leste has further enhanced our monitoring, reporting, verification, and enforcement of license system through development HCFC and AFC, trade control module, under the national single window system. Madam President, while we are on our journey to phase down consumption under the Kigali Amendment, there are opportunities for parties to enhance our energy efficiency, represents, and our conditioning appliance while phase out ACFC or phase down AFC. The synergy between the phase out, phase down, and energy efficiency could render win-win benefit through strengthening collaboration between energy officer and national ozone officer. We would like to express our appreciation to the Multilateral Fund for approving the twinning workshop of Multilateral Protocol officer, energy efficiency, policymaker, and financial mechanisms focal point to support the Kigali Amendment objective, which enable our national ozone unit to start the dialogue with Energy Authority on the way forward to integrate energy efficiency as a part of ACFC phase out or AFC phase down, and vice versa. Since ratification of the Montreal Protocol in 2009, Timor-Leste has faced challenges on management of unwanted controlled substances due to the limited experience of this industry and national challenges in dealing with the unwanted chemical. Our delegates have learned useful and practical experience from the resource person during the life cycle represents management organized by the Ozone Secretariat. We would like to express our appreciation to the Ozone Secretariat for their dedication to make this workshop successful. However, this is not the end. we are at the beginning of the journey for sound management of unwanted controlled substances. In our journey, we will sunrise the Jensen, which we need to decide the direction that will lead us to the sustainable pathway to properly handle this issue in a holistic manner. Our delegate strongly with that the Article 5 party will have access to support the multilateral fund to address the challenges that all Article 5 are facing. Madam President, this implementation of the Kigali Amendment in conjunction with energy efficiency and life cycle represents management will require coordination efforts across the various sectors of our society. It will involve improving our infrastructure, capacity building, and educating our people. However, Timor-Leste believes that with the support from the Ozone Secretariat, multilateral fund, and implemented agencies, we will overcome these challenges. Madam President, Timor-Leste recognizes exemplary support of the Ozone Secretariat, the Multilateral Fund Secretariat, and implemented agency as a guiding force in global environment governance, support countries, including Timor-Leste, during the implementation of Montreal Protocol, obligation and preparation of Kigali Amendment ratification. Timor-Leste look forward to continuing our partnership as we work to implement the provision of this amendment. The expertise, resource, and guidance will be crucial in supporting Timor-Leste to build the capacity needed to meet our commitment as our environmental goals. Thank you very much, Madam.
Thank you, sir. It is now the turn of Ecuador, Mr. Romulo Armas, National Ozone Officer of Ecuador. Sir, you have the floor.
Señora Presidenta, Excelencias, distinguidas delegaciones, colegas y amigos del Protocolo de Montreal. Es un honor dirigirme a ustedes en nombre del Gobierno del Ecuador en esta 36ª reunión de las partes del Protocolo de Montreal. Nos encontramos en un momento crucial para la humanidad, marcado por los efectos crecientes de la crisis climática y los desafíos energéticos que están afectando a gran parte del mundo, particularmente en nuestra región, América Latina. Enfrentamos tiempos difíciles, donde la disponibilidad de energía eléctrica se ha convertido en un bien cada vez más escaso, impactando el bienestar de nuestras sociedades y la capacidad de nuestros países para prosperar y desarrollarse de manera sostenible. Estos retos, que no conocen fronteras, nos recuerdan la urgente necesidad de actuar hoy, con determinación y responsabilidad. El momento es ahora. Ecuador es un país pequeño en territorio, pero con una gran responsabilidad en la economía global. Somos uno de los principales exportadores de bananas, camarones y chocolate del mundo, productos que dependen completamente de una cadena de frío eficiente para mantener su calidad y viabilidad. La capacidad de asegurar esta cadena de frío es fundamental para nuestra economía y el sustento de millones de familias ecuatorianas. Esto resalta la relevancia del sector de refrigeración y aire acondicionado, no solo en la vida diaria, sino también en el comercio global y en la seguridad alimentaria. Estamos convencidos de que la respuesta a esta crisis debe ser colectiva y equitativa. Si bien reconocemos los compromisos de todos los países en este proceso, es importante subrayar que las naciones en desarrollo enfrentan exigencias mayores. Sin embargo, estas exigencias deben ir acompañadas de compromisos robustos y acciones concretas por parte de los países donantes. Necesitamos más financiamiento, necesitamos más apoyo para poder cumplir nuestras metas y a la vez proteger a nuestras poblaciones más vulnerables. El Protocolo de Montreal ha demostrado ser una herramienta eficaz, no solo para la protección de la capa de ozono, sino también para la mitigación del cambio climático, especialmente con la enmienda de Kigali y la reducción de los hidrofluorocarbonos. En este sentido, me complace anunciar que Ecuador ha incluido la eliminación gradual de los HFCs en su segunda contribución nacional a nivel nacional, reforzando aún más nuestro compromiso con la comunidad internacional. Este paso es vital para avanzar hacia una transición climática justa y responsable. Además, consideramos esencial la incorporación de nuevos conceptos, como la economía circular, el ciclo de vida de los refrigerantes y el monitoreo regional de las emisiones de sustancias controladas. Es crucial que los refrigerantes y los equipos al final de la vida útil sean manejados de manera segura y responsable, minimizando su impacto ambiental. La idea de un monitoreo regional es una iniciativa que permitirá garantizar la eficacia y transparencia de nuestros esfuerzos internacionales. Sabemos que es imperativo un cambio de enfoque. Es momento de que los jóvenes asuman un rol de liderazgo para que con energía renovada y nuevas perspectivas guíen los esfuerzos globales. Pero también es crucial que esta nueva generación de líderes se nutra de la experiencia y el conocimiento acumulado por quienes han conformado la familia del Protocolo de Montreal durante décadas. Juntos podemos acelerar los procesos, innovar y fortalecer nuestros compromisos con el futuro. Queremos expresar nuestro profundo agradecimiento a las agencias internacionales, especialmente a la Organización de las Naciones Unidas para el Desarrollo Industrial, por el apoyo constante que hemos recibido en el Ecuador. Asimismo, extendemos nuestro sincero agradecimiento a los países hermanos como Colombia, Chile y México, quienes han abierto sus puertas para el intercambio de conocimientos y experiencias. Su generosidad y cooperación han sido invaluables para nosotros. Es necesario recordar que el éxito del Protocolo de Montreal ha sido siempre su capacidad para adaptarse, evolucionar y responder a los desafíos globales. Ahora, más que nunca, debemos actuar con celeridad. Cada retraso tiene consecuencias palpables, y cada acción que tomemos hoy será decisiva para garantizar que nuestro planeta sea un lugar habitable para las generaciones venideras. El Ecuador se compromete a seguir trabajando arduamente junto a todos ustedes para lograr nuestras metas compartidas y confiamos que con más financiamiento, mayor compromiso y un liderazgo colaborativo logremos los resultados que nuestra gente y nuestro planeta necesitan con tanta urgencia. Muchísimas gracias.
Thank you, sir. Now that we have exhausted the list of parties that wish to speak, as indicated this morning, we will give observers that have asked for the opportunity to speak to take the floor. It is now the turn of the International Institute of Refrigeration, Mr. Yosa Aluche, Director General. The next speaker will be the Environmental Investigation Agency, followed by Children and Youth Major Group. Sir, you have the floor. So I would correct myself and say, Madame, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam the President. Esteemed delegates and distinguished members of the Montreal Protocol Ozone Secretariat. As the head of the delegation of the International Institute of Refrigeration, an intergovernmental organization fostering collaboration and enhancing knowledge on all aspects of refrigeration and heat pumps technologies globally, I commend and reaffirm our commitment to the objectives of the Montreal Protocol, whose noble efforts have set a global precedent in environmental protection and ozone layer preservation. We fully support the activities of the Secretariat and stand ready to engage in the vital transition in sustainable refrigeration sector worldwide. Refrigeration is essential in our current climate context, yet it must be sustainable to protect humans, environment, and climate. A critical component of this sustainability is the adoption of heat pumps, which play an instrumental role in the energy transition for heating in the built environment as well in the industry. At the IIR, we firmly believe that evidence-based policymaking is essential to achieving our environmental and climate targets. We ensure an interactive process that enables effective exchange of knowledge between scientific evidence providers and scientific evidence users. Through this collaboration, we ensure that the latest scientific insights are not only shared, but also provided in a practical and relevant way suitable for policy formation, supporting each of you in making informed and impactful decisions. In line with the outcomes of MOP 35 and ongoing discussions at MOP 36, we recognize that the importance of effective financial mechanisms to support the phase-out of HFCs and the promotion of clean, sustainable alternatives. At the IIR, we are committed to strengthening technology transfer and capacity building initiatives, ensuring that both developed and developing countries have the resources they need for this essential transition. Beyond technical skill building, we will continue strengthening the capacities of national ozone officers by providing resources and training materials on energy efficiency and conducting sectoral assessments, such as those focused on food and health cold chains. Our holistic approach addresses not only ozone layer protection, but also the broader challenges of climate change, Recognizing the challenges posed by accessibility, finance, and infrastructural gaps towards the implementation of sustainable refrigeration, we remain impartial and dedicated to supporting the sector's transition in every country. Moving forward, IIR provides independent support and fosters cross-sector collaboration, remaining committed to this vital mission. We are eager to work hand in hand with each of you. Together, through lasting partnerships, we can reach our shared goals, securing a healthy present and building a sustainable, safe future for the generations to come. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Madam. It is now the turn of the Environmental Investigation Agency, Ms. Avipspa Mahapatra, Climate Campaign Director. Then the next speaker will be Children and Youth Major Group. Madam, you have the floor.
Thank you. For nearly 3 decades, the Environmental Investigation Agency has proudly participated in the Montreal Protocol meetings. We are honored to deliver the statement today at the 36th meeting of the parties. 36 years ago, we here made a commitment to protect the ozone layer, a commitment that has proven immensely successful. But beyond the original mandate, the protocol's actions have delivered significant climate co-benefits. By addressing ozone-depleting substances, which are also harmful greenhouse gases, we have avoided up to 2.5 degrees Celsius warming by the end of the century. And with the full and rigorous implementation of the Kigali Amendment alone, we could avert nearly half a degree of global warming. While we have come together to strongly begin implementation of the Kigali Amendment and address unexpected emissions of CFC-11, a concerning amount of ozone depleting and greenhouse gas fluorochemical emissions that are unreported, unaccounted for, and in several cases unexpected, point to continued challenges for the Montreal Protocol. Their primary sources are feedstocks, byproducts, and intermediates in fluorochemical production processes which are not currently controlled. HFC-23 is one example which is being discussed this week. These avoidable emissions amount to almost 500 million tons of carbon dioxide equivalent per year. That is higher than the 22 annual emissions of Germany, Canada, or Mexico. The failure to address these emissions lies primarily with lax monitoring and reporting, which has allowed these damaging activities of the fluorochemical industry to continue unchecked. These continued unaccounted emissions underscore the pressing need for the Montreal Protocol to reassess and strengthen its framework and institution to ensure that parties can meet all their obligations effectively. Better monitoring of feedstock production and usage, identifying alternatives to ODS feedstocks, resolving gaps in the atmospheric monitoring network, and life cycle refrigerant management are critical related agenda items being discussed by parties that could make this meeting a successful one if resolved. Meanwhile, new threats, including emissions from nitrous oxide and very short-lived substances, also demand immediate action. The Montreal Protocol's past achievements were built on strong institutional foundations, rigorous scientific and technical assessments, and robust financial support from developed countries to assist developing nations. As we face new responsibilities and challenges, we must additionally support and sharpen our implementation strategies to enhance the protocol's effectiveness. So now is the time to modernize compliance mechanisms, strengthen national capacities, and invest in the tools to tackle enforcement challenges head-on and combat illegal production, use, and trade of controlled substances. The EIA calls upon all parties to reaffirm the spirit of the Montreal Protocol and take decisive action on these issues in this meeting, demonstrating once again why the Montreal Protocol remains the world's most successful environmental treaty. We are committed to continuing working alongside to sustain the recovery of the ozone layer, but going beyond that to tackle the urgent global challenge of climate change. Thank you and happy Diwali.
Thank you, Madam. It is now the turn of the Children and Youth Major Group, Zuhair Ahmed Koshik, Global Coordinator. He's the last scheduled speaker for today. Sir, you have the floor.
Thank you for the floor, Madam President. I'm Zuhair Ahmed Koshik from Bangladesh, and it's an honor to stand here today on behalf of the Children and Youth Major Group, the mandated youth constituency to the United Nations Environment Program. Our theory of change is focused on 3 areas. First, building capacity on skills and knowledge that empower young advocates to drive change. Second, developing robust policy positions and actively engaging in negotiations to amplify youth perspectives. And third, partnering with diverse stakeholders to secure access to UN policy forums, such as this week's joint COP13 and MOP 36. These objectives were embodied in the Youth Forum on Climate Protection held last Sunday, which brought together young people from across the region to learn about the impact of the Montreal Protocol and its contribution to climate protection. We gratefully acknowledge the support of the Ozone Secretariat, UNEP Regional Office for the Asia and the Pacific, the Asian Institute of Technology, and other collaborators in organizing this forum. At the heart of our discussions last Sunday were topics critical to our time. First, we explored how the Paris Agreement can work in harmony with the Kigali Amendment to reduce climate impacts through sustainable and green cooling. We also examined the potential for gender mainstreaming as well as the green jobs and skills in this sector, emphasizing the importance of investing in professional pathways for youth. Together with youth groups and individuals, we discussed the role of energy efficiency in reducing greenhouse gas emissions and supporting the successful implementation of the Montreal Protocol. We concluded with a discussion of the importance of increased financing for ozone and climate action, a critical step if we are to see impactful, long-lasting changes. Building on our engagement, which started at MOP 35 in Nairobi last year, children and youth call upon parties and implementing partners to, first, prioritize youth-focused investments in education and skills, create sustainable green jobs within the cooling industry, and support youth entrepreneurship. Champion youth participation in supporting future youth forums on climate protection at the subsequent MOP sessions, empowering young voices to drive bold, impactful climate solutions worldwide. We urge parties and other partners to allocate resources voluntarily through the Ozone Secretariat to facilitate meaningful youth engagement at the future meetings of the parties, enabling a diverse representation of young voices that can contribute innovative perspectives to ozone and climate protection efforts. Establish a dedicated youth flag in the plenary of MOP and WEG like other MEAs, highlighting the ongoing contributions of young leaders and acknowledging our rightful mandate to engage in these discussions. Align and integrate key environmental agreements, fully embracing the intent of Resolution 6x4 adopted at the 6th session of the United Nations Environment Assembly to drive synergies, cooperation, and collaborative action for national implementation of the multilateral environmental agreements. We strongly urge all parties to embed ambitious targets for sustainable cooling and the phase down of HFCs within the next version of NDCs for the Paris Agreement, solidifying our collective commitment to climate resilience and sustainable development. And most significantly, to take decisive stand by universally ratifying the Kigali Amendment. This step is not just a commitment to phasing down HFCs, it is a powerful decision for our collective resolve to safeguard our climate, protect future generations, and advance sustainable cooling solutions globally. The recently published emissions gap report of UNEP revealed that we are now on a catastrophic trajectory of 2.6 to 3.1 degrees Celsius of warming by 2100. The time for incremental change is over. We must take transformative, impactful steps that prioritize the planet, empower young leaders, and build a resilient future for all. Our message is clear. Empower youth as climate leaders, invest in green skills and innovation, and work with us to create a thriving planet. Thank you for the floor.
Thank you, sir. That brings us to the end of the statements. I thank all heads of delegations for their inspiring, encouraging, and thought-provoking statements. Let us now turn to the next agenda item 8. Moving on to agenda item 8 on other matters. As there were no other matters raised at the time of the adoption of the agenda, I will close consideration of this item. Delegates, we are now at the home stretch and need to give the groups that have not yet completed their work the time to do so and report back to the preparatory segment before its closure. We will now break for lunch, but before we do have some logistical announcements that would be accommodated at this time.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The provisional list of participants is available on the meeting portal under the post-session tab. Please use the password indicated to access the list and submit any corrections to the Secretariat to Betty Kamanga and Jacqueline Gitao by 6th of November. The final list will be posted on the meeting portal by 15th of November. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, we will now break for lunch and resume the plenary session in the afternoon. We will begin the afternoon by turning to item 6, the report by the co-chairs of the preparatory segment and consideration of the decisions recommended for adoption at COP 13 and by MOP 36. Please watch the screens and the app for the starting time of the afternoon session. In the meantime, the Secretariat is projecting the schedule of meetings that will take place before then. So until that time, have a good lunch and good luck for the remainder of the meetings. The meeting is adjourned.